Hey, and good morning. I love Elon Musk. Not in a way that is weird, although most everything I do has a degree of weirdness. But I love Elon Musk. I just love him. I love the way he presents himself. I love the way he presents his stuff, the way he succeeds and stuff. Although he doesn't always succeed, that includes all of us. But now he bought Boeing. Where does it all end? I don't know. But Boeing was in a world of hurt, way worse than even is in the news. I mean, come on. But if you think about it, Boeing is big in space as well as just aircraft and a bunch of other things. Well, I went Boeing just the other day with my buddies. Okay, I didn't. That's weird. So what will happen with that? First thing he's going to do is get everybody together that's on the top and say, what's been going on, fellas? Oh, and by the way, you're all fired. And then he'll put some people in that will seek out the problems and fix them. Get them fixed. Nothing's 100%, but these guys have not been performing well. And he'll take care of that. He'll make sure that changes. Now, will it change tomorrow? No. Will he get hit by lamestream medium because it didn't fix it tomorrow? They'll think of something. They always do. And blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, here's this guy who's like, already captured space. It's level. I kind of almost want one of those T-shirts he wears that says "Occupy Mars." Now, honestly, I've been wrong before, but I don't think we're going to make it in the next 100 years. The Occupy part, we might actually go there, but I don't know if they'll come back. I don't know any of that. But I think it's just cool that's he has plans. And his plans seem to, at least they head in the right direction. Tesla as a car, I thought was silly at first, and then it just kind of became a rage, whatever. It became popular among the yuppies and such, and a lot of good people. I know some of them, and they love those cars, and sure they have problems, but you know what? I had problems with my old Pontiac, but you know what I'm saying? It's like the man's crazy intelligent and does stuff that surprises everyone and usually works out quite well, and people will come after him, much like they come after Trump. Amazing that the two of them have paired up. When I think of Trump, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, even Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson, and maybe a handful of a whole bunch of others in a room together, I say, how can we go wrong? No. Yeah, even, what did I say? I think I left out the oh God, boy, what's his name? I love him to death, but he's wacky too. Let's see. Oh, come on, guys, help me out. Not Ben. It's the kid, the Jewish guy, the one that wears the yarmulke and talks smack to the yuppies about birth control and stuff. Oh, come on, help me out here. One of y'all. Y'all all know who he is. Anyway, but you know what? I find him quite annoying to listen to, but he has a lot of good stuff on his menu. So, yeah. But Musk, come on. Will Musk ever become president? Wow. I think he'd win in a heartbeat. But the problem is, I think he's doing so good where he is. I don't want to move him. It's sort of like DeSantis. DeSantis, governor of Florida. I happen to live here in Florida. The governor of Florida is a wonderful guy. And when he first got elected, the first year or so, several years ago, people didn't really know him that well, but yet they gave him a shot at it. And a lot of people were disappointed in him at first. And by the end of his first term, he was like crazy popular. And landslided his second time in. And then he started wanting to run for president. And most of the people that I know that live in Florida, and I do not know most of the people that live in Florida, but most of them said, hey, no, we kind of really like having him here for governor. And if he were to run for president, he probably would have to give up the governor thing. And then there's no telling, the way things are, there's no telling who we'd replace him with. So it's like, no, why don't you just stay here for a while? We'll give you, you'll term out here eventually, and then we'll give you a shot at president. I mean, it's a good thing. Have a few of them in line. That's where we messed up before. We didn't have any in line. And Pence, whatever happened to Pence? Pence was like, I used to think he was Trump's guard dog. Then I realized he was Trump's poodle. But anyway, I don't have anything really against Pence. I know Trump got pissed off at him, and I know that having Trump pissed off at you probably not a great place to be. You're not going to win on the social media battlefield. He'll just Trump all over you. He'll Trump all over you. Yeah, I got Trump on, man. Ooh. Anyway, no. But okay. Once you're out of favor, you're out of favor. Go away. Just go away and stay gone for now. Maybe you can come back later. I don't know. Vance is great. Vance is a good old guy. So in other words, what am I saying? We'll put a few people in line, but look what he's got behind. Look at the wave he's got behind him now for next time. Hopefully for next time. I mean, as of, I don't know when you're watching this, but as I'm making it, we're a week away from an election. And so, and Trump's wiping out the polls unless you listen to a lefty, and then what can you believe? Who knows? And does that mean he's going to win? Or are we going to have the same problem we had last time? Now, people get canceled for saying anything about it, but that thing was stolen, and we all know it, but we're just afraid to say it, and I'm not, but what do I got to lose, Anyway, so I'll say it. I'll say it for anybody that, hey, I can't say it, but I'll let Rack say it for me. Cool. Yeah, it was cheated. But had he won, think about it for a second here. Had he won, he'd be in the last days of his presidency. And by God, I hope he would have had somebody in his, to follow him up. But who knows? If he had won, Pence would be the vice president right now. Think about that. That's kind of weird in its own. And maybe we needed to have him gone for a little while to find out what heading to hell actually looks like. Okay, so now we know that, and we'll vote him back in. And if they steal it, God bless. People say, well, you can't say anything about violence because you'll incite violence and all that. I have no intention of inciting violence. I abhor violence, but I got to tell you, if violence occurs against me, my family, or somebody I know or love or see getting beat up, the perpetrator is going to face dire consequences, and it's going to happen immediately. Now, if you want to call that inciting violence, I think you're wrong. I just think you're wrong. I think it's what we were supposed to do, and I would be quite willing to do that. So now, how effective would I be? Well, it depends on what I happen to be carrying at the moment. It could be a rock. I mean, come on. Anyway, so here's the gig. Right now, he's got a band of followers that include several really good candidates to be the next prez. And what's happening, and this you don't hear about, is a buttload of Democrats are falling in line too. They won't. Many of them won't say it out loud, but they're whispering it. They know he's right, and they want him in, and they know what they've presented as their candidate is just cartoon stupid. But nonetheless, that's where we are. Now, I gotta bless you. I hope you're listening to this because it's important stuff, even though it's important stuff, And sometimes people don't pay attention to the important stuff, and well, that gets us all in trouble. So the whole main thing is you still got time. It's a week away. Vote. I don't care when or, well, I don't care when or where you vote, just so you do it legally. I wouldn't, now see there, I don't recommend anybody do any goofy stuff on voting. But you see, that goes double for Democrats. You get to vote too, but I know a lot of you guys are voting for Trump, and I'm proud of you for doing it. And maybe you can swing your party around to where we have two parties that can vie for options, and both of them can provide good, solid leadership. I think that would be amazingly cool. And I think there have been a few times in history where it was true, but in general, one side ends up not only losing, but losing it. So, whatever. Right now, vote for Trump. Get him in there. Let's see what happens. But think about, again, if he had been given his rightful win in 20, and we congratulated him, and we had the 4 years, and he's about to go out. But like I said, Pence would be the vice president. I don't know how that would have gone. You know what I'm saying? I up until the last minute, he and Pence were tight, or at least they appeared to be. And that's something that Trump doesn't tend to do. He doesn't like, well, I'm going to look like I'm tight with this guy. No, if he's tight with you, he's tight with you. If he's not, he'll tell you. He'll tell the entire, he'll tweet it. But I don't know how that would have gone. Now, COVID would have played out. He would have been there. People would be making fun of him. And God knows, I don't know if he would have ever been able to put himself in a position to take out the FBI, the CIA, and every other. You take all the letters in the alphabet and string them together in any three sequence of three of them, and you get one of the departments. You call them the three-letter agencies. So I think there's a whole lot of possible combinations, and they got a lot left that they can make up. So, and I don't know that any of them are actually worth their salt. I know FEMA, that's a 4-letter word. Now, that's great people working at FEMA, don't get me wrong, but the management of it has been nothing but to give pain to those already suffering by stealing the money that was supposed to go to them and building buildings for God knows when. I'm thinking by the time you get any building built, that problem should have already been over and they'd be gone. So it can only be that they have plans for later. And oh gosh, there are lithium deposits there. Think about Maui. Remember? Okay, they're not helping it. Well, I'm not going to say they're not helping anybody. They probably have a few poster child people that they help and say, look what we did for them. Well, okay, great. But the vast majority, no. Now, I have been involved in hurricanes here where I live. Aftermath was horrendous for a day or two. And then, FEMA showed up and distributed a whole bunch of MREs and bottled water. And you did have to figure out how to go get it. And they'd actually come by and visit your place and look and see, like if your roof was collapsed, they'd put a blue roof on it. They called it the blue roofs. And then they'd put a little cryptic sign out in their front yard that nobody ever figured out what that was. A little cross with some letters and numbers on it. Anyway, somebody probably knew what that was. I know I didn't, and I was involved in helping. So anyway, they were here for that. They helped out. I'm not going to say that they did it the most efficient way or the best way, but they were here. They did help. A lot of people got fed. Some old ladies got taken care of, like, given places to stay and had their house repaired. Most of this stuff's done as a loan, so it's not like the government's out on anything. They just either give them a loan or give them money to get going until their insurance takes effect. Assuming that they had insurance, most people do. Some don't, and they get hurt bad. So what's up? What's up with FEMA out there in North Carolina? I don't know. That's just bizarre. They're doing the craziest things. You can go figure that one out for yourself. Just, it. I know it. I don't know what's going on. It would never happen under Trump. So there you go. Get him in. Okay, so now that we know just how bad going to hell looks like, getting Trump back in, and this is a new Trump now. Now, is there anything new about Trump? Yeah, every day. He's new every day. He gets up and says, well, what do we need to do today? And last time he got in, he thought he didn't know anything about governing. He just knew that he'd make a pretty good president, and he did. But the thing is, he expected that because he was president, he could put in people that knew what they were doing, tell them what he wanted done, and they'd go do it. That's not exactly what happened. A lot of the people that he put in or left in completely just ignored whatever he said to do and went and did their own thing. And I say their own thing. They were being directed by none other than our old friend, Barack. You remember him, Hussein. I mean, a guy's name meaning Obama. I mean, wait, if you just look at his name, you go, there's something up here. But for some reason, I don't know, a whole lot of people said, oh, he's a good-looking black guy, and he's clean. He's not like the rest of them black guys. He's a clean black guy. People have said this. I'm just repeating it. I don't, that's not me. And we should put him in, and then we will have achieved blackness in the White House, and it will be a wonderful thing for everyone. Well, it wasn't. I think I'm blacker than him. If you depending on what scale you're looking at, obviously not melanin. And God bless. I mean, that was a fiasco. That man. I'm gonna tell you something about Barack Obama. Barack Obama had a shot at unifying this country like it's never been unified before. Every other group that immigrated into this country over the years, I like to pick on the Irish, Remember the old signs? I know you don't remember these. In New York especially, but they'd have now hiring sign, right? And underneath it would say, Irish need not apply. Now, how would that look if you this is real. I mean, this was happening. Nobody made big bones about it. The Irish just said, okay, we'll do other things, But, and I'll get to that, how they did that. But the thing is, what if I put up, I had a little business going, I'm starting a brand new chicken farm here. And I'm not, but if I were, it could be anything. It could be a bowling alley. Anyway, and I put up a sign, now hiring, that's a good thing. Hire people, get them to work. Blacks need not apply. Now, number one, I would never do that. The black people that have worked for me, mostly, you can't lump everybody into one, but in general, over the years, the blacks who I have hired and worked for me, which is a large number of people, because I hired a large number of people for myself, for other people's companies, ones I worked for, ones I ran for people. I've hired an awful lot of people over my life, of everywhere from the ditch digger guy to the running the engineering department. I've hired them all, plumbers, pipe fitters, you name it, and I have a really good track record of hiring individuals that are good for the job that they're hired to do. Now, I didn't hire blacks because they had a strong back, although many of them do. I hired them because of what was in their head. And I always hired people because of what was in their head. Because even if it was the guy that was going around doing the janitor stuff and putting the garbage, emptying the garbage cans in the offices or something, I hired that guy too. And I tell him, look, I'd ask him, I say, what can you do to make your job more effective? And they'd look at me like, wow, I don't know, I changed the garbage. I said, well, what if you took the garbage cans? They're sitting in the corner. I noticed that when other people put a new liner in the garbage can and sit it in my office, they kind of pull it away from the wall a little bit. And I don't know why. I just don't know why. Maybe it's because it's easier to set it there. I don't know. But I do know that I always walk in and say, and I kick the can. I push it in towards the corner so it's actually in the corner, touching the corner, if that happened to be where it was. And that way, from my desk, I could do, a banked layup and hardly ever missed a shot. But when it was just away from the wall, I was constantly missing shots. Which made the guy that was doing the garbage go over there and pick up all the stuff around the can. You see where I'm going here. Or I might do it. It's not like that I did it just to watch the guy have to work harder. I mean, that would just be insane. I wanted him to empty more garbage cans so that he was more effective and happy about his life. But so I tell him, I say, why don't you try this? And he'd do that. And the next day he comes in, he says, I did that. And today when I went around, I did the garbage cans in like half the time. And of course I said, well, let's think of something else that'll make your job better. And we would do, and the reason I picked on that old Billy Bean, if you're watching, I always loved you, Billy. But nonetheless, if he was a scout master too. He liked kids and scouting and stuff. These are the people you want. But if you treat every job that way, let's think of a thing that may not be related to what we're working on today, but that would make you more efficient in your job. No matter what your job is, it might be auto mechanic. It might be city planner. You see where I'm going? Just think of something that, excuse me, please, makes you more efficient and makes you get your job done quicker, better, smarter, easier, more healthy. Just go for it. Figure it out. And if you're somebody that's under me that's also hiring people because you're like a department head or something of this nature, let me teach you how to seek people that will do you a good job. If you're hiring a young lady to be your secretary who is going to answer the phone, and I don't know what people do now. I know what they did then. They actually typed on a typewriter. Do you want her to be able to type 60 words a minute? Or do you want her to keep an ear to the wall and let you know if anything's going on that you need to know about? Let's say you had a choice between those two. You see where I'm going already. The 60 words a minute, it depends. Now, if you need somebody that's just typing away hard all day, and yeah, they need to be efficient there. But that's usually not the job. That's a small part of it. I overheard this one talking to this one, and they're suggesting doing this, which I don't know, but it could lead to a problem over here. And they tell you this, that they possibly just saved your company their salary for a year in 5 minutes. Possibly. Who knows? So these are the things you look out for. You look out for people who are honest, forthright. And this one gal, I was hiring a gal for secretary. I had it down to about 3 or 4 of them. One was a kind of an older lady, and although she had the skills, she was kind of slow. I didn't know if she'd be able to get in to my office fast enough for me to remember what it was I wanted to tell her. But yet she had all the skills. And I said, well, that could be an issue. We'll see. She's got a shot at it. Hold on. What else we got? We got this beautiful gal. Beautiful, gorgeous. We're talking winning the beauty contest one. And she was reasonably intelligent as well and very gregarious. And I got to thinking, well, everybody's going to want to talk to her, and she'll be talking to them. And as well as communication is good, that might not be the whole thing. And then this one gal came in. She was a mom. She was had young kids, a couple of young kids, and lived in a trailer with her husband, who was a mechanic, and just middle America stuff. And I looked at her, I said, you used to run an office. Yeah, you did. It was a small little going concern. And I said, 2 things there I'd like to know. Why are you not still there? And she said, well, the business closed down. I said, okay, well, there would be little sense in showing up to there. I said, okay, why should I hire you? You can tell by what's going on here today that you're not the only one I'm looking at. So I'm going to ask you straight up, why should I hire you? And she looked at me, and she didn't have to think about it a long time. She didn't. She looked at me and she said, I'll watch your back. So I replied, can you start Monday morning? She did work for me for years. We had our agreements, we had our disagreements, but she was true. She watched my back, and that was the coolest darn thing in ways that weren't, what do they call them? Overt or covert or nothing like that. Just stuff, And every once in a while, she wasn't like trying to butter me up or anything, but like If it was my birthday, she would bring me a cup of coffee and set it on my desk and kind of bow a little bit and say, happy birthday. That was like the extent of that kind of stuff, which was fine with me because I don't need people to bring me coffee. I need people that will watch my back. Not so that I can do anything wrong, just so that things don't have to go bad. And that's where we are here. Trump, if he could bring somebody in that will watch his back, it can be for a various number of reasons. One could be because they want to eventually take over his spot. But the better reason would be because that's what good people do. And you get good people in, and good people will do the right thing. Sometimes not as fast, not as efficient, not as, but they're going to have a good slant to it. And that pays the bills. Believe me, that pays the bills. So what we got right now is it looks like Trump's going to win. God, please grant me that. I mean, you let me live long enough that I believe I'll make another week. But you see where I'm going here. That I prayed that you let me see him get in, and I prayed that you let me see him win. And well, that's up to you, Lord. That's totally up to you. On the other hand, maybe it's up to the people of the United States. And maybe he's waiting for us to give him the opportunity to get us back on our feet. And we are not on our feet. We're on our back getting punched. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We don't have to be aggressive. We don't have to start being violent. On the other hand, if somebody is violent to you, don't allow it. I'm not calling for violence. I'm telling you that at that point, violence isn't the issue. Be as violent as you feel necessary. And then when you're done being violent, back away. Sun Tzu, never try to wipe out your enemy. Always leave them a way to escape. There's honor in that. And even the worst of enemies appreciate being treated with honor, even if they, at least not at first, they may not display that. But everybody appreciates that. And if you try to wipe somebody out, you're going to leave a remnant. This has always been the case throughout history. That every group of people that's ever been written about in any history, which is all that we know about, if there was an attempt to wipe them out, there was always a remnant. And if that remnant came back in a year, they were madder than hell. But sometimes that remnant might come back 50 years later, 100 years later, 400 years later, and they're still madder than hell. And the closer they get to the time when they can come back on you, as it gets closer, they get meaner. So here's the thing: let people escape honorably. You don't have to take them out. You just have to take them out. You just have to remove them from the situation. You don't have to kill them. You don't have to wipe out their family. You don't have to. And this is what happens sometimes. Don't do it. Don't be part of that. Yeah, get them out. Now, what's that have to do with Trump? Well, last time he came in, he said, well, these people will do what I say because I'm the president. And then if they do what I say, then things will go well. Well, they didn't do what he said. Matter of fact, they covertly attacked him and stayed stabbing him in the back. A lot of his people did that, and on both sides, they did, and they made it very difficult for him. They fought him. They impeached him half dozen times. I don't know how many they would have if they'd been let go. They would have kept going until he was in jail, until he was totally irrelevant. They would have taken away every ounce of his strength and money and everything else. But he's such a fighter. This is actually just itchy. But anyway, he's such a fighter that they weren't able to actually pin him. But they did get rid of him in one way, in that they stole the election from him. Yes, I said that. And now we know what it's like not having him, and we want him back desperately. And when we get him back, perhaps there'll be a difference. And the difference is he's not going to trust the people that are still there. He's not going to trust anybody. He's going to say, I got a job for you. I know you can do it. Go do. And the minute they jump the rails, they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone. It's just like, okay, I don't really have anybody in mind to replace you right now, but the people under you have been trained. So you go away now because you did not follow my directions. And they'll be gone, and that'll give him, whatever time to try and pick. And then he's going to start developing a tribe, which he's already done, under him that can very, very effectively help him get the right people in the right place. And every time one of them goes off the rails, and people can be forgiven for doing something wrong, irrational, or for, misguided deeds, whatever. That can actually be forgiven for a lot of that, but not whenever their main goal is to try and dump you. So those people will be removed quickly. God knows it would be cool if he got to put in a couple more judges. That would just be crazy cool. And yeah, the ones he put in, they say, okay, he put them in to get rid of Roe versus Wade. Well, he put them in knowing what he believed that they would do the right thing at the right time, and they have not always done the right thing at the right time. They have not. And the thing is, the sorry thing is, you can't get rid of them. So they're there. It's very, very difficult to get rid of a court judge without involving loss of life. So that they're there. But when it did come down to Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court didn't do that. The Supreme Court doesn't do anything. It's a case was brought before them. And once that case was brought before them, it gave them the opportunity to review it and put it right. And what they did is exactly that. They said, this is not a constitutional issue. It's just not. It's not. It never will be. And the Constitution is an extremely good document. It may have a few flaws in it, but those are changeable. But in general, it's an extremely well thought out document that has sustained this nation for a couple hundred years, with only minor changes. But in this case, it's not constitutional for the government to be involved in that in any way. So the court rightfully said, this is not. The court didn't say you can have abortions, you can't have abortions, or put limits. They didn't do a thing. Nothing. Not one thing. You can't blame them for any of that. Well, you can blame them for anything you want. Not going to do anything. What they did do is say, this is a job for the states individually and for the people of each state to decide for themselves how they want it handled. Well, that didn't really change anything, did it? Except, each state was allowed to then put into their own state charter, or in some cases it was already there. But here's the thing people don't understand, I don't think. Maybe they do, I don't know. If a state has a law that contradicts a federal law, the federal law will take precedence. The state law is non sequitur. It doesn't matter because there's a federal law taking it over. And that's what was happening there. And when they removed that federal statute, they removed it completely. Then it became a state statute. And any state that already had a statute in that area, it became the law of the land in that state. But each state was given the opportunity to decide how they wanted to handle it. And some have, I have an opinion how it should be handled. You have an opinion how it should be handled. They may or may not be the same. They may be similar, and it is a spectrum. So each state got a shot at it. Where you live got a shot at it. That means you had a shot at helping with that. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with the Supreme Court. It has everything to do with the state that you live in. And put it there, leave it there, keep it there. Because that's where it rightly belongs. And God knows it might, the hearts of man should prevail here. Should. I use that word. I don't like that word should. That word should be removed. The word should be removed from our vocabulary because it always implies guilt. Should. It's just the same as guilt. I don't like to go there because I don't know if you're guilty. I don't know. But if a doctor is a human being, and he has a heart, and he has a belief system, and if in his belief system it is wrong to abort a baby of any age in any circumstance, once the two zygotes, the male and the female sex cells, just keep it there. Once they join, there's a spark of light that comes out of that. There's a spark of light that comes out of every chemical reaction, but it's interesting that that spark of light has been looked upon by some as pretty cool. And I think it's pretty cool. Nonetheless, once that occurs, you can say, well, is it viable? Yep, it sure is. It's viable right where it is. If it stays where it is, it's viable. You remove it from where it is, it's dead. Simple. Now, there's in vitro thing. We've interdicted in various areas, and that's cool. That's cool. If you're trying to have a kid and you're having a little difficulty, and the doctor can help you, well, God love you, go do it. That's your heart, not mine. And it can't be mine. It has to be yours. And the doctor, if a doctor says, in my heart, I cannot stop that life once it starts. I mean, I can physically, but I'm not gonna go stab your grandma. Nor am I going, you see where I'm going here. And that doctor, it would seem to me, that can hold that in his heart and never, ever talk about it unless it needs to be talked about. If he's not involved in killing babies because of his profession, he's a bone surgeon. That's very rare that he would be involved in such a thing. So there's a few doctors that are involved in such a thing, and a few of them have this thought, and making them do it or telling them they have to do it or they get fired or or de-platformed, whatever, that's just wrong. That is so wrong. Number one, even though I don't feel this is right, number one, there are other doctors that will. Keep this guy out of it. You can ask him for his opinion, and he's going to give it to you. And allow him to give it to you without fear of anything. And then, it's your body, it's your body, your choice. But, they talk about that in a way that's wrong. It is your body. It is your choice. I'm not saying right now that any choice you make is right or wrong. I have my beliefs about what's right and what's wrong. But I can't control you. I don't know you. I don't know where you are, who you are, what circumstance you're in. I don't know any of that. Nor do I need to. On the other hand, my opinion's my opinion. I don't think I would have appreciated it if my mom knew what she was getting into by having me, decided to not have me. I would probably be one vote that would be not in favor of that. But you go wherever you want to on this, and that's kind of the way it is. It's not a federal thing, and don't make it a federal thing. And if that's your main platform to run for president, you might as well run Goofy and Ronald McDonald for president. No, you just don't do that. You just don't do that. Get Trump in there. Let's straighten some things out. And it's not about that. He'll reduce the number of regulations on everything he can get his hands on, because he knows that regulations are killers of the economy and of our ability to be strong as a country. He knows that. Now, is it okay to dump toxic, poisonous, radioactive garbage sludge into a waterway? No, that's not good. That will never be good. And we all know that's not good. And all you have to do is look at it and say, you made the decision to do that, or you actually opened the valve, either one. You're wrong. And there should be significant penalties for that. But guess what? It's going on all over the place, all the time. What stream are you willing to walk up to in this country and just dip a cup in and take a drink? I guess that would be up to you. But, there's ways to treat almost anything in the water. But go back a couple hundred years. Why? Well, a couple hundred years is nothing in time. Go back a couple hundred years. Engines was here. Them engines was here now. All them engines. Yeah, old Cactus Pillow and his tribe, they were there. And you could go into virtually, I'm going to say virtually, any stream and dunk your cup in, or you've seen the old Westerns, they take their canteen and just put it in the water and let it fill her up and throw it on the side of the horse and keep on going. Why? Because those streams were quite clean water. And yes, there were a few that you couldn't do that. The Great Salt Lake, well, streams end there. They don't come from there. And everything accumulates, including the salt. It's so strongly salty, I think it's almost impossible to submerge in it. It's heavy. But the point is that those streams are coming. I bet you, I don't know this. A couple of hundred years ago, the streams that flowed into the Great Salt Lake, which didn't even have a name back then, and the Indians called it Wamakumakuchi or something. It was named by Cactus Pillow and his tribe. I love Cactus Pillow. He's a good guy. Anyway, those streams were probably just as clean as any others. So having clean water and clean air, that's the key. Having a bunch of regulations doesn't do squat. People just work their way around them. And that's been proven. And if you think about it, what did Trump say he wants about, ecology or whatever? He said, I want clean water and I want clean air. Yeah. Can you have a coal-powered electrical plant that puts out nothing harmful to the air? Yeah. CO2 is not harmful. That's what plants eat. They need it. Used to be higher. Now there's a limit where it becomes poisonous, but that's true of everything. You can drink too much water. You can have clean water and drink it until you die. Here's an interesting fact. A Rax factoid. Is that a Raxoid? Anyway, if you take water, what's clean water? Is it pure? Not quite. Distilled water, although it still has some stuff in it, because if nothing else, the equipment that you use to distill it will, glass jars, the glass dissolves. It's just not very much. It's enough that you can't find it, but it's there. So pure water, as in distilled water, which is all the minerals stripped out of it. There's no minerals, there's no oxygen, there's no nothing. It's just water. And some people refer to it as dead water. Because if you drink it, it will kill you. The purest of the pure water will kill you as it's going down your throat. Because as it travels along your skin, it will be sucking minerals that are necessary for life right out of the flesh. So therefore, a small amount of mineral activity, whatever, in water is actually necessary. But it's a very small amount, so clean would include that small amount of various minerals. What are we talking about here? Calcium, magnesium, manganese, sodium. There's a little bit of sodium in there. Not much. Not enough to make it salty. Chlorine, fluorine, all these things that you think, well, those are poisonous. Yeah, they are. At high concentrations, or higher. Cyanide, God bless, that's what they use in the gas chamber. Pellets drop, cyanide gas comes in, you're dead. Well, cyanide is prevalent in almost every fruit. Cherry's well known for it. And cherry concentrate has a significant amount of cyanide in it. When I say significant, what are we talking about? A couple parts per billion, probably. But that cyanide that's in cherries is what causes cherry juice and cherry concentrate to be so helpful in alleviating coughing. Why? Because the cyanide actually numbs the surface of your mouth a little bit, just a tiny bit, and enough to kind of knock the coughing out. So poison, yeah, what's that? It's all about percentages, quantities, amount. Yeah, too low, bad. Too high, bad. In the middle, perfect. So what am I talking about now? Trump, that's what I'm talking about. Regulations, get rid of them. Make people responsible for their own actions. If somebody's dumping crud into a stream, somebody else knows about it. Raise the flag, stop them. And if somebody's doing it unintentionally, make them knowledgeable. And if they respond to that and fix it, you're done. If they don't, take them out. And that's, we need that. So what happens after Trump? We get Trump in, we get 4 years, Trump and Vance, that'd be cool. 4 years later, I can't tell you. Would Vance be an option? Probably. Would trans would Vance and Tulsi Gabbard make a cool ticket? Yeah, it would be a very cool ticket. RFK. I don't know that I want RFK as a president. I'm not saying that he would be bad or anything bad for people, but he's so effective at getting word out. That's why they hated him so bad. That's why they wouldn't let him run in the Democratic. It's not the Democratic Party. That does not exist. It's the Democrat Party. And when you hear people say specifically Democrat, or they say Democrat and say, oh, I mean Democrat, those guys know what's going on. Honestly, there's a difference. There's nothing democratic about it. And our country is not a democracy. Yes, it's a representative constitutional republic. And calling it a democracy is just plain old ignorant. Yeah, you call it a democracy, you're ignorant. So if you say that Trump is a threat to democracy, well, it's not like, oh yeah, that would be cool because it's not. No, anybody that says that's just ignorant. And is Kamala Harris ignorant? Yes, in the biggest sense of the word. People say, well, you called them ignorant. You're a bad guy. That's a bad word. No, it's not a bad word at all. All ignorant means is that you don't know the veracity of your words. If you say stuff and you have no idea if it's true or not, or worse yet, you think it's true and it's not, and it's easily provable, you're ignorant. Ignorant. That's what she is. She's ignorant. Now, people have used that word in other ways, Well, you were acting ignorant. Well, it's impossible to act ignorant. You either are or you aren't. Well, I guess maybe a comedian could act ignorant, but you get the idea. It has nothing to do with it. So, God love y'all. If you stayed on this long, I want to reward you. Yes, I'm going to reward you. I'm going to ask you to give me a like and a subscribe. And I reward you with that because what that does is sends it up further, which just makes me a teeny bit more relevant. And if you think that's cool, do it. Please do it. If you think that's uncool and you lasted this long, wow. I don't even know what to say. I'm flabbergasted. So I love you. I love you very much. Please note that my love of you is cool, but kind of unimportant. Jesus' love of you is real and very important. And all you have to do is love him back. Just realize that he died. He gave up his life voluntarily so that you had a shot at seeing the Father and going to heaven. So just say, Jesus, Lord, thank you for your sacrifice on this earth. And I, for one, acknowledge you as my Savior. And I ask you to come into my life and rule me, rule my heart, and send your Holy Spirit to guide me so that I may one day be one with you and the Father and the Holy Spirit. So that being said, I love you. Aloha. Very few of you know what that means. It means your spirit and your breath. It's a wonderful thing to say, especially if you know what it means. And Mahalo, which a lot of people don't know, means thank you. God love you. Bye-bye.